They never wore uniforms, they didn't storm borders. But behind the scenes, they financed empires, survived global wars, and today quietly influence trillions. This is the story of the Wallenberg family, Sweden's invisible dynasty. In this video, wartime deals, discreet power, and how a banker family built silent control across Europe. Chapter 1. The dynasty no one talks about. The Wallenberg family doesn't appear on global rich lists, and you won't find them giving TED Talks or tweeting about space rockets. But behind closed doors, their influence rivals entire governments. Their investment vehicle, Investor AB, controls or has stakes in dozens of Europe's biggest industrial, pharmaceutical, and technology firms. That includes AstraZeneca, Ericsson, ABB, Electrolux, Atlas Copco, and Saab AB. Their reach is so extensive, Swedes have a term for it: the Wallenberg sphere. The combined value of this empire is estimated at $278 billion, yet the family's personal wealth sits at around $1 billion, a fraction of what they control. That's by design. Most of their assets are legally held inside private foundations and dual-share corporations that ensure control without ownership. At their peak in the 1970s, the Wallenberg businesses employed 40% of Sweden's industrial workforce and represented 40% of the total value on the Stockholm Stock Exchange. Today, they continue to control key sectors across Europe quietly. Chapter 2. Banking with the Nazis. Behind the polished Nordic image lies a darker, complex past. It all began with a young Swedish naval officer named André Oskar Wallenberg, a man with a fire lit by a book called How to Start a Bank. After returning from the United States in the mid-1800s, André saw Sweden differently. At the time, Sweden was full of potential but painfully short on capital. It was a country of big ideas and little funding. The central bank had a monopoly on lending, so if you wanted a loan, you had one place to go and almost no flexibility or innovation. André decided to change that. In 1856, he launched Stockholms Enskilda Bank, or SEB for short, the very first private bank in Sweden. Inspired by a Scottish model, he had a simple but revolutionary idea: pool small savings from everyday people and use that money to fuel economic growth. It worked. SEB disrupted the financial system and helped Sweden slowly transition into an economic powerhouse. One man, one idea, and the seeds of an empire were planted. But one man couldn't do it all. That's where André's son, Knut Agathon Wallenberg, came in. Knut didn't just inherit the bank, he supercharged it. Under his leadership, SEB expanded globally and amassed a serious fortune. But then came a legal roadblock. In the early 1900s, Swedish law began to restrict banks from owning too many industrial shares. So, Knut and the family made a bold move that would define their long-term strategy. In 1916, they created Investor AB, a holding company that allowed them to keep their industrial interests separate from the bank. This was the pivot that cemented the Wallenbergs' role in Sweden's economy. Now, Knut and his wife, Alice Wallenberg, didn't have any children, so instead of building personal wealth for heirs, they focused on giving back on a huge scale. In 1917, they established the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, one of the largest private research foundations in Europe. After Knut's death, the family fortune didn't go to his half-brother by blood, Marcus Wallenberg Sr., like many had assumed. Instead, it all went to the foundation. At first, Marcus felt completely betrayed, but eventually, he realized that Knut's decision had been genius. Without the foundation, the family fortune would have splintered across generations. But with it, their empire remained focused, untouchable, and immortal. Marcus Sr. guided some of Sweden's biggest industrial names through tough times. He wasn't just a banker, he was an empire builder. After World War I, he also became a crucial figure in post-war economic recovery. Nations came to him as a trusted negotiator and problem solver. But as powerful as he was, even Marcus Sr. couldn't have predicted the storm that was coming. By the time World War II loomed, Marcus Sr. had passed the torch to his sons, Jakob Wallenberg and Marcus Wallenberg Jr. During World War II, the Wallenberg-run Stockholms Enskilda Bank was accused of collaborating with Nazi Germany. Under the leadership of Jacob Wallenberg and Marcus Wallenberg Jr., the bank acted as a financial bridge between German industry and neutral Sweden. Sweden's neutrality allowed it to trade with both Allied and Axis powers. And through the bank, the Wallenbergs allegedly helped German companies restructure assets to evade Allied sanctions. According to U.S. Treasury Secretary Henry Morgenthau Jr., Jacob Wallenberg was considered strongly pro-German. As a result, in 1945, the U.S. government blacklisted the bank, effectively placing it under economic blockade. The ban wasn't lifted until 1947, after intense lobbying and quiet negotiations. Though these wartime dealings are rarely spoken of in Sweden today, U.S. documents declassified decades later confirmed the extent of the bank's cooperation with Nazi-linked industries. Meanwhile, in stark contrast, the most famous Wallenberg of all, Raoul Wallenberg, was in Hungary, risking his life to save over 20,000 Jews from the Holocaust. As a diplomat, he issued protective passports and sheltered Jews in safe houses. Raoul's legacy is one of heroism, but the family he belonged to was playing a much different game back in Stockholm. Chapter 3: The Empire Rebuilt in Silence. After the war, the Wallenberg family pivoted fast. They separated their banking operations from industrial ownership, setting up Investor AB in 1916 to comply with Swedish laws that restricted banks from holding shares in industrial firms. Over time, Investor AB became the flagship entity of the Wallenberg Empire. In the 1970s, they merged Stockholms Enskilda Bank with rival Skandinaviska Banken, creating SEB, now one of the largest banks in Scandinavia. But internal family tensions nearly destroyed them. In 1971, Mark Wallenberg, heir apparent and son of Marcus Wallenberg Jr., committed suicide, reportedly overwhelmed by the pressure of living up to the family legacy. Power then passed to his uncle, Peter Wallenberg Sr., a man who had long been in the shadow of more prominent family members. But Peter surprised everyone. He reinvented the family's industrial empire, focusing on private equity, conglomerate restructuring, and long-term stakeholder capitalism. By 1990, the Wallenbergs were estimated to indirectly control 1/3 of Sweden's gross national product. Quietly, the dynasty was bigger than ever. Chapter 4: 16 Foundations, $27 billion, Total Control. The real genius of the Wallenberg strategy lies in structure. Instead of distributing their wealth among heirs or risking public stock battles, the Wallenbergs locked most of their capital inside 16 private foundations. The largest of these is the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, a philanthropic juggernaut with an endowment of nearly $9 billion. Combined, the Wallenberg Foundations manage over $27 billion in assets. But these foundations don't just fund science or education. They own and control stakes in key holding companies like Investor AB and FAM, aka Foundation Asset Management, which in turn hold majority voting rights in dozens of Europe's top companies. Chapter 5: Who really owns Europe's industries? While tech billionaires in the US grab headlines, Europe's industrial backbone is still shaped by legacy families like the Wallenbergs. AstraZeneca, the pharma giant behind one of the major COVID-19 vaccines, has ties to the Wallenbergs via Investor AB. Saab AB, Sweden's leading defense contractor, builds Gripen fighter jets. And yes, the Wallenbergs help decide who sits on its board. Ericsson, once the world's top mobile infrastructure provider, remains a Wallenberg-controlled firm through complex share structures. Even EQT AB, a massive European private equity firm with $240 billion under management, was launched from the Wallenberg ecosystem. In total, the Wallenberg family exerts control or major influence over more than 20 of Europe's largest publicly traded firms. Chapter 6: The Fifth Generation and the Future. In 2006, leadership passed to the fifth generation. The current power trio includes Marcus Wallenberg, son of Mark Wallenberg; Jacob Wallenberg, elder son of Peter Wallenberg, senior of Peter Wallenberg Jr., younger son of Peter Sr. They represent the future of a dynasty that's already been quietly influencing world events for over 160 years. And in today's boardrooms, they remain kingmakers. Investor AB is now investing heavily in biotech, sustainability, and digital infrastructure, Even as global markets swing wildly, the Wallenberg strategy remains the same: long-term influence, behind-the-scenes leadership, and absolute control without the chaos of public wealth. Chapter 7: Legacy, Secrets, and Enduring Power. So what does it mean when a family of bankers once accused of financing Nazi Germany still controls a significant slice of Europe's economy? It means history never really ends, it just evolves. The Wallenbergs survive global war, family tragedy, blacklists, and modern capitalism not by dominating the media, but by avoiding it altogether. They don't post, they don't campaign, and they never need to explain themselves. They are Europe's secret industrial sovereigns, and yes, they were once Hitler's bankers. But today, their influence is deeper, quieter, and arguably more enduring than ever. This has been a look inside Europe's most invisible billionaires. If you want to understand how dynasties outlive history, follow the money, but pay even closer attention to who avoids the spotlight.